We don't change it a lot at all. It's basically business as usual. Our preparation is very similar to how we prepare for a weekend in the regular season. Now, we know our opponent for the next series, so we're going to play this team a bunch. We've seen them in the regular season, so we'll have our normal pre-scout and just getting our guys in the right frame of mind to understand, number one, that we're preparing for Reading and here's their tendencies and here's what they like to do as a group. But then two is it's playoff time, and you have to understand that comes with a lot of different things. It's going to be more difficult finding room out there. It's going to be a lot more tight checking. Every play becomes more significant. And all these guys have played at high levels, whether it be college, major, junior, playoffs before in the American League or the ECHL. So most of these guys are familiar with the playoffs and understand that, it's going to be amped up and things are going to be pretty important, and the stakes have all of a sudden now been raised.
From a coaching staff, how easy has the prep work been for a series like this? Because compared to years past, you didn't know either who you were going to play or what your schedule was going to look like really till the very last day of the season. Here, maybe the last week or so leading up into that Saturday game, you kind of knew that that's who you were going to play. Question was who had home ice advantage. Does that help you in terms of maybe getting to watch those last few games that Reading played, or you get to take a little extra time to make a few extra notes than you work it down to the wire and then you only have a couple of days to get ready?
Yeah, I think a little bit. We were able to watch some of Reading against the weekend or on the weekend against Indianapolis leading up. We didn't play Friday, so that was a little bit unique. I watched them play Friday night against Indianapolis, which gave us a little bit more time, but it's not a huge – in hockey, different than football and basketball where there's so many things scripted. It's not a huge, in-depth – I'm not a big believer in that. I just think, we're going to be dialed in terms of our structure. There's no question about that. We'll be on point with that, but we won't focus a ton of time and just go through hours and hours of breaking down Reading. We'll play our game and know what their tendencies are, but for the most part, it's business as usual.
Do you believe in momentum, Coach, in terms of success at the regular season level spilling over into the playoffs? Point in case being just how well the Stingrays have played the past couple of months, just in those last 29 games going 27-2-0. Do you think that confidence will carry over, or do you think once the postseason starts, everyone kind of has a clean slate?
A little bit. I think the confidence for our group helps because we've won a lot of games lately, and there's a belief that comes with that. But I would say normally NFL, NHL, teams that get hot, it does have a large impact, but different in the ECHL. Rosters change so much going into the playoffs, so there's a lot of teams that limp in, that get 3 or 4 or 5 guys back from the American League, and all of a sudden they just, it turns their whole team around. So it can help, but for the most part, I think in this league it's sort of a clean slate. Wherever you are, there's absolutely – seeding means nothing in the ECHL, like absolutely nothing. If you look back at the years and how teams have done and who's won, I think last year all 4 of the top seeds in the East lost in the first round of the playoffs. So 1 through 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 win, and that's the type of parity and how much the rosters change that mostly it's just a clean slate once the playoffs start.
And since we're talking here early in the week, and I'm glad you brought up the rosters, take us through the process of selecting a playoff roster and who you want to have out there on the ice come playoff time. And I'm sure it's a very delicate process because you're dealing with guys that are currently on the roster who may possibly be coming down from the American Hockey League, or who may be a trickle-down effect from the NHL affiliates as well. So what goes into selecting a playoff roster for you?
It's a lot of different moving parts. It's a lot of phone calls. It's a lot of jockeying between who could you see, who may you not see, because it's a really unique roster the way the ECHL does it, and they have to do it because it protects us from a team, an American League team or an NHL team, just funneling 15 brand new players to an ECHL team. They're just trying to prevent against that. So they limit the roster size and they limit or make requirements on who's allowed to come down this time of year from higher leagues. So it makes it a little bit of a unique, weird, why is this guy on, why isn't this guy on, what happened here? You just basically have a 23 max is the max amount of players that you can have, and You need to figure out what players may come back. Some guys are up in the American League and their team's going to miss the playoffs. Some of them, they're going to make the playoffs in the American League. So, there's a time element to it, when they could join you at the earliest. There's a lot of different things that go into it, and when you're making the decisions and that. So it's not just performance-based, like, hey, let's find the best 23. You've got to look at some guys that you have eligible that are up in the American League or maybe injured, and then sort of weigh how you want to go about it.
Final question for you, Coach. Now, getting ready, you clinched home ice advantage with the win on Saturday, and now you're getting ready to host Reading on Friday and Saturday for games 1 and 2, and then go to their building. Listening to a lot of hockey talk as the NHL, the AHL, and the ECHL get ready, there's been a talk of home ice advantage maybe not being as big as it used to be, or in terms of actually being an advantage. But it seems like the crowds have been more lively here at the Coliseum. The guys have been feeding off that energy, and certainly with the fan appreciation and over 8,000 fans, it seemed like the energy was there. Do you feel like there's still a home ice advantage to be had, or the good teams will win no matter what building they're in?
I think it's minimal, the home ice advantage. Especially in our league, because the crowds in the playoffs, because tickets have only been able to be sold for a couple weeks. It's usually in the first couple rounds. It's not a huge advantage from a crowd support standpoint, but you do get to sleep in your own beds and prepare your own meals and do all that type of stuff. So that's a little bit, I think. But the parity in the NHL, the American League, and our league, it's so strong that it's minimal to the point that any team can win in anybody's building. There's no strong advantage that makes it anything significant. So that's the way we look at it. You want to protect home ice. You want it to be a difficult place to play in, and that's what we hope we can do starting off, especially when you get a couple games at home. You can get some momentum going and make sure Reading knows this is going to be a tough building for them to win in.